it's safe to say no two teams or announcers have waited as long as we have for the 2015 season. It's Mississippi State from the SEC. Southern Miss, their hosts from Conference USA. A capacity crowd in Hattiesburg. They call this place the Top of the Rock, constructed in 1935. Hello, everyone. I am Tim Brando. So happy to have you with us as we begin our 2015 campaign here on FS1. And I'm honored and privileged to say that our newest partner in the Fox Sports family is an all-too-familiar face to me. How are you, Spencer?
How the heck are you, man? Fancy seeing you here, buddy.
Indeed. Spencer Tillman by my side yet again. And ladies and gentlemen, here come the Golden Eagles. Their mantra, Southern Miss, back to the top. And the question is, can this team, only 4 years removed from a Conference USA championship and a charter member, get back that proud tradition reborn? We'll find out tonight. And Spencer, what a way for you to debut. We've got the Heisman frontrunner, Dak Prescott, on display for Mississippi State.
Absolutely. Dak Prescott is a Heisman Trophy candidate for the second year running for one express purpose, his productivity. Only once in 20 starts has he failed to produce at least 420 yards of productivity. That's significant because, Timmy, this is a run-based spread attack. It's not an air raid. You're not going to have those video game type numbers. He is the alpha male on this team. Ultimately, the guy, Nick Mullins, his counterpart, is trying to get to that place. And in looking at tape of him, he needs to be a little bit more accurate. There are players running open all the time, but the ball was just beyond their reach. Todd Monken's system is good. He's just got to hit him on target. If he does that, I guarantee you this will not be a shutout this time around.
Southern Miss actually leads this series 14-13-1. Mississippi State was number one for 5 weeks a season ago. They have a chip on their shoulder out of the mighty SEC West. The kick is next. Fox Sports 1 College Football is presented by Geico. Tim Brando alongside Spencer Tillman for tonight's late night Magnolia State delight. And Spencer, let's get your 4 keys to tonight's game.
Well, Timmy, you know, teams are no different than businesses or other organizations. They tend to operate in silos, so you have to consciously work against that. And so you got to play complementary football. And we've talked about that ad nauseum, but the bottom line is this team cannot be successful unless there's communication both on the offense and defensive side. And then, of course, in the open, we mentioned the accuracy. Put a premium on passing accuracy for Southern Mississippi. That's the goal for them. That's our key of the game.
Together, we are Mississippi strong.
Dan Mullen now in his 7th year, coming off a 10-win season, arguably the best regular season in modern history at Mississippi State, has a fresh new contract and has a tall task in front of him in the Southeastern Conference's Western Division. And there's his counterpart, Todd Monken, who spent a few years in the NFL, but prior to that was an assistant at Louisiana Tech, on to Oklahoma State, where he was with Mike Gundy for a number of years. And now the new head coach here. It was a reclamation project. They were coming off a winless season under Ellis Johnson. He got 1 victory in his first season. He got 3 a year ago, and that was after Mullins got hurt in late October. He's hoping for bigger and better things this year. Number of transfers that he believes have made his team all the deeper. And they'll need that tonight against this bigger, stronger, and many would say larger Mississippi State team. Devin Bell will be kicking off. Mike Thomas, 88, is back deep. He's also the big-time wide receiver in this offense for the Golden Eagles. And we do have a brisk wind, as you may have heard. We've had some lightning and weather delays in locations. They did not finish the game in Athens, Georgia earlier today. They've had a delay in Baton Rouge as well, where LSU is at home. But it appears that most of the inclement weather has circled this part of Mississippi, and we should be in great shape. But there is a wind behind Mississippi State. And here's the kick. Thomas from his 3. He's up to the 23-yard line, and they'll take over from that point. And Spencer Tillman, give me the 3 things we need to know when Southern Miss has the football.
Well, a couple of things you need to do. They may come out and do a lot of things. They've got to fly under the radar. They really can't help that. You talked about the futility of recent years. That's been their difficult situation. But one of the ways that you counter that is with pace and tempo. It can be used as a tactical advantage. If they get ahead, which may not happen, they've got it at their disposal.
Single setback is Jalen Richard, number 30. They go in 3 wides. The tight end is lined up as an H-back. That's Jayshon Washington, redshirt freshman. Richard off the left side. Stopped after about a yard gain. Chris Jones made the tackle. As you look at Nick Mullins, 12 touchdowns, 11 games a year ago. Played at Spain Park High School in Hoover, Alabama, with his offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey as his coach. Yep, it's Richard again beyond the 25 to the 26. They're not wasting any time, are they?
Well, again, you can use tempo, Timmy, as a tactical advantage. The key is you cannot do it from behind. Most people think that's when you do it. No, it's when you've established the fact that you can take advantage of a weakness that the defense has demonstrated.
3rd down 7. Thomas is the favorite target. Marker's down, and he's got it. Up to the 32-yard line, which is a yard shy of the necessary yardage, but let's check the flag. Our referee is David Smith.
And Tim, while they sort this out, you notice it appeared as if they were going to go up tempo, then they backed it off a little bit. That play was spent to identify what the defense was showing.
Offside on the defense. Number 47. Penalty is 5 yards. Replay 3rd down.
A.J. Jefferson, the guilty party, the defensive end, number 47. He's a big-time rush-in, junior from Summit, Mississippi. He and Ryan Brown are not only big, but they are quick coming off the edge. So it's 3rd down and a yard to go. Richard remains the lone setback. He gets it again and stuffed right at the point of attack by Chris Jones. Big junior from Houston, Mississippi. Big time stop right there.
Well, the thing that Mississippi State did on that play, they rolled to a single safety look. That meant that they had an extra defender down in the box, anticipating run, Timmy, and they stuffed it big time.
But they got a great mark.
Yeah, they did.
The extra effort fooled me. So it is a 1st down. Jalen Richard remains the lone setback. Big time hit by Jones, but Richard contorted his body and got the 1st down. And we got flags down again prior to the snap.
Everybody got to almost like preseason jitters.
Prior to the snap, false start. Number 72 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Replay 1st down.
That's Norman Price, 72. The right tackle for this team, a senior from Vicksburg. Well, they got a lovely right foot spot on the opening series and a 5-yard penalty to aid the cause. And now face a 1st and 15. Mullins, a quick wide receiver screen to Thomas, and I think he felt the oncoming safety and dropped it quickly as Kendrick Market was bearing down on him, number 26 for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Will Redmond was in on there as well. Again, they have such great closing speed. Redmond, of course, one of the elite corners in all of football, certainly in the SEC to be sure. He showed you some of that quickness and closing speed there. If you're going to throw it his way, you better be on time.
Second and 15. There it is, same thing, opposite side, complete to DJ Thompson, and he's ahead to the 37-yard line, stopped by Tolando Cleveland, number 7, who is starting in place of Tevez Calhoun, number 23. He's got a meniscus issue and not playing, so this youngster, Cleveland, getting the start.
Cleveland doesn't have a lot of experience, and again, they know that. Believe me, they're going to take advantage of that opportunity.
Calhoun's been bothered with that meniscus for the last couple of weeks.
Again,
Beautiful. Look-in pattern complete. To the 49-yard line, it's Thompson again.
See, that's the beautiful thing about Todd Monken's system. Real time, they're able to access where the weaknesses are. They know that Cleveland doesn't have a lot of experience over there. They're going to attack him until he shows that he can defend it.
Quick out. That's going to Casey Martin, who was the leading receiver for this team a year ago. He'll line up in the slot a great deal. Catch a lot of crosses. That time he was running an out pattern. A negligible gain, however. Second down and long.
Casey Martin's an overachiever. You know, he's not a very big guy, about 5'10", 180 pounds from Houston, Texas. The thing about him is, talking to coach, he says this guy will sell out. He knows he's a small guy, but he wants to do big things.
Boy, everything is quick and with a purpose. That's Thomas. It's a first down into Mississippi State territory at the 40-yard line.
See, at some point, Manny Diaz, the defensive coordinator for Mississippi State, has got to affect the quarterback. If they're going to play off coverage, they got to change this up. Got a triple formation out here now.
It's Richard again. He burrows inside the 40 to the 38. Well, you touched on that. This is a big night, not just for the Manny Diaz curtain call. He was the defensive coordinator at Mississippi State back in 2010, made a big name for himself, ultimately left for Texas, and then he made a bigger name for himself at Louisiana Tech, leading the country in turnover margin a year ago to get back to the Bulldogs after what was an aberration really at Texas. Richard inside the 35 to the 34-yard line. Zach Johnson made the stop. Third down and 3 coming up. Casey Martin gets into the slot up at the top of your screen. Keep an eye on him. Quick curl the other way to Thompson, incomplete. Well covered by Talando Cleveland. And it's fourth down and 3 coming up. Probably too long to be thinking field goal here. They've got new field goal kickers on both sides this year.
Well, Timmy, I would say this. DJ Thompson just kind of pulled up on that particular play. Mississippi State has not done anything to stop Southern Miss. And so if I were them, I would really seriously consider going for it.
Well, they are. Lined up and ready to go. Mullins under pressure. A little mix-up that time with Thomas. And it's turned over on downs. Good work by Mississippi State defensively. Manny Diaz leading the cheers along the sidelines. Todd Monken wants to talk with his quarterback. But Southern Miss had a good drive, dinking and dunking their way inside the Mississippi State 35 before being turned away. We welcome you back to Hattiesburg, and let's get 3 things you need to know when Mississippi State has the football, Spencer.
Timmy, here's a little something new for you. 4 receiver packages. That's going to put more stress on defenses. Take advantage of Dak Prescott's development in that. And then, of course, the running backs are doing a tremendous job, but they've got to get down in the red zone and convert. Just 63%. Not going to get it done.
Ashton Shumpert will be the starting single back. You'll see 4 before the evening is done. Prescott out of the shotgun. New center is Jamal Claiborne, and it's a quick out to open to Gus Wally, the new tight end. They've got 3 of them. You might recall that they had Malcolm Johnson, 6th-round draft pick on last year's team. As you look at the numbers on Dak Prescott, incredible. Accounted for 72 touchdowns all told in his career. It's been remarkable. Young man from Houghton, Louisiana, breaking all kinds of records. Shumpert on the little safety valve, and he gets it to the 37-yard line. This is a very quick and much deeper Southern Miss defense. Devontae Foster, 15, the free safety, making the tackle. Third down and 6 coming up, and this crowd being heard from here at the Rock.
One early adjustment that Southern Miss has got to make is in their attack angles. There's a lot of speed in this Mississippi State backfield. You've got to play sound defense.
Prescott with time, over the middle and caught. Fred Ross. Great move to the outside. And he's ushered out inside the 20, and a late flag comes down. Elijah Parker took him out.
Timmy, on that play, that was an example of throwing deep with touch. That was a pass play that he didn't necessarily execute extremely well last year. He's been working on it, and there you see the early returns. The touch. Dak on the attack early.
Personal foul, late hit out of bounds on the defense. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. First down.
Well, they are ready to go, playing tempo as soon as they march out. Here's what happened at the end as he was taken out.
Just a nice quick in, looky route, open up. They were playing kind of a 2 1/4 concept where they left the middle of the field open, and Dak read it.
Oh, boy. That's kind of a hard break, really, to think about it. That was Picasso Nelson Jr. was kind of slipping and falling, and then ultimately hitting to tack on the extra yardage. Up the gut. It's Shepard. It's a touchdown. Ball is loose. He may have lost it on the way in. He did. And Southern Mississippi says they've got it. Boy, he was on his way in and just lost the football. Picasso Nelson Jr. and Devontae Foster collaborate, come up with the recovery. Boy, he was wide open. He had to be surprised. There was nothing but turf and an end zone in front of him.
There's a basic lesson there. You never assume that you're across the line of scrimmage with the ball attack. The ball is seated down low. You got to carry that ball high and tight, Timmy, and protect it.
That's Denarius Antoine, number 12. Boy, I thought he had just lost it. That's a great defensive play.
They were working on that in practice just yesterday. And again, if you noticed that they had the strings out with the ball on the other end and trying to pull it from each other.
Well, that's just a remarkable defensive play by the youngster from Trinity Valley, Texas Community College, by way of nearby New Iberia, Louisiana. So a touchback and a huge break for Southern Miss. They take over now at their 20. And we've got another 3-snap marker.
Number 66 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That's a backup tackle in for Norman Price. Andrew Peterson, a redshirt senior. It's game number 1. And we've seen a couple of examples of that really from both sides early on. 1st and 15. Look at the size of that rush from Chris Jones. All 6'6", 308 of him. He has emerged big time for this program. They've always had some big uglies on this state team.
He had some help too. Cleveland on the corner can't blitz was sneaking in there, making sure that the pass was not going to leave the quarterback's hand unaffected. That's how you affect the quarterback.
Ito Smith is now the running back, replacing Richard. Number 25 in the backfield. He'll tote it. Looks to bounce outside and is tripped up at the 15-yard line. Cutting through there, Beniquez Brown, number 42. Making the stop.
Yeah, Ito Smith is a guy that led him in rushing last year, a little over 500 yards, and Jalen Pichard and Justice Hayes are a couple of other backs that will be in there chiming in as well, spelling him.
3rd down and 15.
Front.
Showing pressure. Wide receiver screen out to Thomas. Gets it out to the 20-yard line, but we got another flag down. Might we have another offsides? We'll see.
Offside on the defense. Number 88. 5-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
That's big Nick James. Now, those are just early season mental errors to give a team a second chance. Happened in the opening series to keep a drive alive for Southern Miss.
And, you know, sometimes if you get a left tackle, which is what you had on the previous play, that happens. You're the last man on the line of scrimmage, can't hear. There's no excuse on the defensive side.
3rd and 10. Richard just into the game, and guess who wrapped him up? Big number 98. Chris Jones had every bit of him.
One of the marks of a great defender, as Jones demonstrated on that last play, was the ability to tackle and shed and release despite being engaged. That's a big-time NFL-type play right there.
Tyler Sarrazin will punt it away, a veteran. That's Fred Ross back deep, who had that big catch earlier, just before the Shumpert fumble. And they angle this in soccer style low. I think it may have been touched. I think it was touched. The ball is inside the 15 and recovered by Southern Mississippi. Curtis McKell is on top of it, number 19. Well, they got out of that what they wanted, a low trajectory and then a dangerous maneuver to try to field it. He wanted to prevent the extra yardage, but oh boy, look at this.
And Timmy, here's the difficult part of it. When a frontline player like Fred Ross, a starter, bobbles a ball like that, psychologically that impacts the team in a bad way. It's not a good situation. And the longer they let Southern Miss come in here, and what we said at the top of the show becomes imminent, they are going to believe they can win this game.
7:18 remaining in the opening quarter, and Southern Miss at the Bulldogs' doorstep after the turnover. They can get a first down without the touchdown. Technically 1st and 10. Evo Smith gets it to the 5.
Evo Smith, ball carrier. 6-yard gain on the play.
So they're halfway home. Well, you know, they changed the markers just as I said that. They actually did mark the ball right on the 10. So it's 2nd and goal. I thought for a moment, well, no, now they've changed it back. You can get a first down without a touchdown. Richard stopped after about a yard gain.
I really like the play selection of Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator. He's painting the field. He's hitting both the perimeter on the right, in the middle, and early on the previous series he went to the left side. And again, you're forcing Mississippi State to cover the entire breadth of the field. That puts a lot of pressure on the defense.
Thomas, Martin, and Washington, the tight end, go trips to the top of your screen.
Watch the guy in the middle. He's going to set the tip.
Richard, the lone setback. Mullins again under pressure and will take the sack. Back at the 16-yard line. Pressure coming off the edge from Ryan Brown, 48. And Jefferson, 47.
Well, they try to create that cluster, and it's the pick route in the middle. You watch the guy in the middle, doesn't do a great job. He turns it into a read route and head for that corner instead. That's great defense, reading, reacting, not biting on that center guy. Anytime you see a cluster formation, Timmy, with 3 guys, always look at the guy at the apex or the top of that. He's the one looking to pick one of the defenders that's covering him.
All right, Stephen Broccoli will now try a 31-yard field goal. Transfer from the University of Louisiana Lafayette. From Gulfport, Mississippi, about an hour south of here along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, gets his first field goal as a Golden Eagle. Shumpert turned it over. Southern Mississippi opportunistic after Ross bobbled it. The Golden Eagles feeling good at the Rock. Mississippi State not so much.
From across the country.
Tomorrow, don't miss a special Sunday edition of college football on Fox Sports 1. It's Purdue squaring off against Marshall. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. I should mention we waited a long time for a Saturday game, but our colleagues Justin Kutcher, Petros Papadakis, And Steve Hutchinson, new to our family, having to wait all the way through Sunday on this Labor Day weekend. We wish them all the best with their game tomorrow on FS1.
You know, Petrus owes me some spanakopita, man. I told him last time, you got to give me some baklava.
He can serve it up. Yeah, he can serve it up.
Man.
And when he's in the studio, the catering not needed in Los Angeles. Mississippi State with Brandon Holloway back deep now, number 10. And Stephen Broccoli will boot it away, fresh off that field goal of 31 yards. It's Holloway 3 yards deep. Uh-oh. He's got a lot of speed. He can burn. Holloway all the way. Touchdown.
Mississippi State.
They have 5 guys that are 4'4" and under in the 40. He's one of them. And yes, he does play a lot of running back too. The junior from Tampa takes it the distance. And that lead was short-lived. Weston Graves will come in for the extra point. Evian Sobiesk was the longtime place kicker for Mississippi State. Graves and Devin Bell both will kick a few. Bell has the bigger leg. This guy is outstanding from inside the 30. Brandon Holloway ends the excitement in Hattiesburg, but starts it in Starkville. 7-3 our score. Mississippi State. Tim Brando along with Spencer Tillman. Let's take a look at this blocking up front, Spence.
Well, the blocking was great. Gabe Miles did an excellent job, number 35, of shielding. But look at how many black jerseys are within a relatively 5-yard distance. And then Holloway, like a lit fuse, racing to a point to explode, Timmy, puts everybody in his hip pocket and takes it to the house. Outstanding special team effort.
Devin Bell will kick it away. His first career kick return for a touchdown. Not bad for Brandon Holloway. And that Mike Thomas is back deep for Southern Mississippi. Takes it from his 12. And he'll get it up to the 30-yard line. Let's get back to our studios in Los Angeles. Jenny Taft with a Lowe's game break. Jenny.
Tim, thank you. Number 3, Alabama facing number 20, Wisconsin at AT&T Stadium. How about Derrick Henry up the middle? This is second long touchdown of the night. Some serious speed from the 240-pound running back. He would later add on a third touchdown. Alabama up 28-7. Tim, back to you.
Jenny Taft, who spent some time with us last year on the sidelines in our studio tonight. It's her birthday,
Really?
which, by the way, is the same day as my daughter Tara's birthday.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great.
How about that? Well, it didn't take long for Mississippi State, but Southern Miss has owned the football for most of this game. Ito Smith in the backfield. Hit pop. He's got 5.
Ito Smith doing an excellent job of breaking some arm tackle there. Market and company trying to reach him. We've got to sure him up at the line of scrimmage.
His given name is Romarius. He goes by Ito, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that nickname as the evening goes on. 2nd and 4. Taken on the screen. He's out to the 40-yard line. Should be enough for the first down.
Tim, again, I can't underscore enough what Chip Lindsey is doing now by putting so much pressure on this Mississippi State defense by attacking the middle of the field and the far reaches of the field. You've got to run and chase. Remember what Coach Mullins told us. He's not going to be platooning guys on the defensive side of the ball like he did last year. These guys stand a chance of getting tired.
First down.
Nice.
Again underneath Corey Robertson this time, number 18. And he gets heavy-duty yardage out for about 9 yards. Well, you mentioned Chip Lindsey, former Auburn assistant and high school coach. Actually left a college job to go back to Hoover, Alabama, and take Spain Park High School to a regional championship. Gus Malzahn told him that when he got the job at Auburn, you coach 1 year with us, you'll get a Conference USA coordinator's job. And you know what? Gus was right.
He sure was right.
Second down and a yard to go. His career path somewhat similar to Todd Monken's. Pass is caught over the middle. The big tight end, Ricky Parks. This guy was playing defensive end 2 weeks ago. They lost 2 starting tight ends during the fall workout.
That's what you call dropping a dime right there. Fred Brown was covering on that, and again, Nick just placed it exactly where he needed to. We talked about the accuracy, Tim, in the open. You're seeing it now from Nick.
Ito Smith ahead for really no gain. Stopped right at the point of attack. Speaking of Parks, he's got Auburn ties. Was originally recruited by Chip Lindsey. Vacated for junior college at Coffeyville Community College right when Lindsey went back to coach at Spain Park. So that's where the connection for Parks and Southern Miss came from. 2nd and 10.
Safe cover 2 shell. Wow.
Sort of a Manny Diaz specialty, isn't it?
Yeah, but
here comes pressure again. Good ad-lib job. It's complete inside the 25 at the 22. DJ Thompson.
See, the problem with the cover 2 shell or some derivative of that, Timmy, you're playing man on the outside. If you get spread out like that, you've got 2 defenders back as opposed to a single safety look. You're shorthanded.
Ito Smith again as they go tempo. Gets it inside the 20 to the 19-yard line. And here's that play you were talking about.
Again, the cover 2 shell made it possible, Tim. It was just a nice little pitch and catch in the flat area. But if you've got another guy down playing press, or at least in close proximity to that receiver, you don't make that play because the timing just won't work for you. But the extra guy's back, 2 deep. That means you're shorthanded up front.
2nd and 7. Mullins to the corner. The tight end. Washington touchdown. Folks, 2 big plays in that drive with players that 2 weeks ago weren't on the depth chart. Parks on the seam route, and then Washington for 6.
And then the alternate, Beniquez Brown, the leader, the smartest guy, the quarterback, if you will, of the defense. He got burned on that play. We talked about Fred Brown. These are frontline players that are getting beat.
Brockley tacks on the point. Wow. Jayshawn Washington, John Ehret High School, Marrero, Louisiana, just across the border. And the directional school in the state of Mississippi is smiling from ear to ear. Fox Sports 1 College Football is presented by Geico. Tim Brando, Spencer Tillman, happy to have you with us here on FS1. Well, by the time we get through the weekend, we've got feature matchups with some big-time conferences already. The Big Ten featured with Jim Harbaugh's first game against Utah the other night. Huge win for that team. And, of course, the ACC was seen earlier today on Fox against UCLA. The Bruins performing very well with Josh Rosen at quarterback. And now the SEC and Conference USA. Oh, they go offside.
Wow.
Fooled them. Ball is loose.
Got it.
The chance is there, and they look to have it. Evan Osborne, the linebacker, comes down with it. Here's the scrum.
As we talked about in our things you need to know, the last point was the golden gadgets, and why not? They've got nothing to lose, Timmy.
Oh, great work. Did you see the work done there by Reed, number 11, knocking it away to keep the ball alive? State looked to be on top of it.
Well, it was, number one, a heads-up job of allowing the ball to travel the distance that it need to before they could engage it. And clearly Mississippi State touched the ball, and Southern Miss was all over it.
So they set up shop at the 42-yard line with another first down. They go quick and quick wide receiver screen again. This time it's McKell who came up with the big fumble recovery that led to the field goal when Ross muffed it on the punt a little earlier. Kendrick Market made the stop, number 26. I think what you're seeing is a team that can throw everything but the kitchen sink against a Mississippi State team that's just trying to get through this one and get back home for LSU next week. Justice Hayes is now the lone setback, number 7. He's stopped at the point of attack by A.J. Jefferson, 47.
Boy, A.J. Jefferson came off that edge with intention, man. He came down and drilled it.
He is a leader for this defensive football team. You know, they lost a lot of personnel, but most of these guys, though not starters a season ago, got a lot of reps. Ito Smith, Jalen Richard, double setbacks. First time we've seen 2 back there with Mullins on 3rd down and 9. Got the onside, but trying to do something with it, and they won't. Another sack. You know, Southern Mississippi would like to think their offensive front is a little better this year than in the past, but Mississippi State so much bigger and stronger and fast off the edge. Ryan Brown and Jefferson, the bookends, made that play. And
one of the things that made it possible, Manny's starting to mix up his coverage a little bit and give him what we call sugar looks. He's giving you a pressure look and then dropping back, confusing Nick on that last play. He thought he had a read, but it was not open.
Saracen will punt it away, should get it off at his 25-yard line. Red Ross is again back deep. Another low one. We'll stay away from this one. But a very effective punt by Saracen. Rests inside the 20. We'll be right back. First down 10, Mississippi State. Brandon Holloway, who had the 100-yard kick return a few moments ago, is in the backfield now, and he'll take it. And he cuts right up the middle and makes an even better cut outside. And there's the speed merchant again. Cornell Armstrong, number 3, the saving tackle. Another first down, and Holloway's all-purpose yards as good as a lot of teams. And we've got an injured Golden Eagle back in the line of scrimmage. It's Will Freeman, number 46, nose tackle.
Well, protection is key. Again, if you're going to make this happen, a little nice ISO play. Holloway does a great job of sifting through there with those wide splits up front for Mississippi State, and he just exposes lack of speed on the back end of Southern Miss.
Well, that is not, they really are going to miss Will Freeman. He's an outstanding senior, Northwest Rankin High School, Flowood, Mississippi. Moved from the outside into the nose position, so he was new to that spot. Not much movement with that left knee. Ashton Shepard is now in the backfield after the run by Holloway. 1st and 10 at the Golden Eagle 48. Prescott, a quick curl pattern to Ross. He dropped it. It was defended there by Devontae Foster, number 15. 2nd and 10 coming up.
Devontae did a great job of closing on that route. Again, it was poorly executed, but Devontae closed on him so quickly. There was no chance for a second chance to that. A lot of times if the ball is in front of you, you get him bobble it to yourself. Devontae Foster with great coverage.
Nice. Oh, great penetration there from Bradley. Dylan Bradley wraps up Shumpert well behind the line of scrimmage. A loss of 7. Well, Mississippi State had the road jitters coming down 180 miles away. Oh boy, they lost it going into the end zone. Then they lost it on a punt. But then Brandon Holloway cleaned up the mess with a 100-yard return. Beautiful campus here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We've had a wonderful time here. Hospitality has been tremendous. And by the way, in case you were wondering, historians, the winningest program in the last 20 years in the state of Mississippi, right here. The landscape may have changed a lot, but Southern Mississippi, that guy, Todd Monken, knows it can be done. Bobby Collins was a success story. Jeff Bowers was as well. And how about Larry Fedora taking them to greater heights in the BCS era? Now trying to reclaim a proud tradition as Prescott fires incomplete for Ross.
Prescott's pass incomplete.
So Dak Prescott there, we talked earlier in the show about him working on his accuracy down the field here. He's got a big gun, but he's got to be accurate. One of the requisite throws in the National Football League, you got to be able to throw deep with accuracy. That's what he has his eyes set on. Got to get it done here at the Bula Bula level first, baby.
Casey Martin is back deep at his 10-yard line. He's waving everybody off. Let's see the bounce, and it's favorable for Mississippi State. Goes out at the 11-yard line. So Devin Bell with a job well done. We'll see the Golden Eagle offense when we return. Nick Mullins trying to find all kinds of targets, and tonight, even minus his #1 go-to guy, he's got a lead.
For information, log on to SouthernMiss.com.
Fox Sports 1 College Football is presented by Geico. Alongside Spencer Tillman, Tim Brando. Mike Pereira has been very busy in our Los Angeles studios today. I'm happy to report we haven't had any controversial calls to check in with Mike for. They had a few in the other games. Justice Hayes has checked into the backfield for Southern Mississippi as they set up shop at their 15. Over the middle, the crossing pattern, Parks. That's his second catch. He had a huge reception during that drive for a touchdown for Southern Miss a bit earlier on a seam route.
Yeah, Parks pulled up in that little hole right there, did a great job of feeling the free safety in the middle of the field to save the catch.
First down. Thomas is back in the game after leaving a few moments ago. Was not in the last series. Makes that catch. Cedric Giles the tackle.
A couple of things: pocket, the presence, and the patience to wait on it. And of course, the receiver does a nice job of choking his motor before that safety got there. Put it in his watch pocket. Otherwise, that's excellent execution by the quarterback and the tight end.
Yeah, Parks from LaGrange, Georgia. We mentioned played the junior college level after originally signing with Auburn. Not someone that would have been in the scouting report at the tight end position. I can assure you of that tonight. Great play fake. Pass is caught by Thomas. And Southern Miss has it to midfield again.
Timmy, Mike Thomas is doing an excellent job of real-time reading the coverage, and they're going tempo now, trying to take advantage of the. Nice, he's open.
He got a lot of pressure off the edge. DJ Thompson, the intended receiver. We do sometimes see that great pressure coming from the edge. You know, that A.J. Jefferson and Ryan Brown have been all over the place. And remember, this is a Mississippi State team that can rotate their second guys in there quite a lot. Not in mass the way they once did. Jonathan Calvin, a backup for Ryan Brown, is in the game now, number 97 at one defensive end spot. But the depth chart is deep at Mississippi State. Does not have the experience it had a year ago, but it's still very deep. 2nd and 10. Quick out to Martin. Negligible gain, perhaps 2 to the 48-yard line.
But what they're doing successfully, Tim, is working, again, the field in such a way that Mississippi State is having to coverage everything. You know, Mullins is really showing some poise here.
Yeah, he has. He really has.
Tremendous poise in this series.
Richard has checked in at running back on 3rd and 8. Martin is in the slot to the top of the screen. Thomas to the bottom. Looking long, and we've got contact. Plenty of it. They're going to say it was incidental? Wow. I guess so. Casey Martin got tied up with Will Redmond. And if it's one of those situations where no one's at a decided disadvantage, no flag will be thrown.
Take a look at the inside receiver here. The move. Redmond got put on him, and he got the outside containment. Norman, he's got leverage on the corner.
I don't know.
Man. That should have been a should have been a flag, Timmy.
You maybe can make the case it was not catchable, but I'm not so sure about that either. Ross is back deep, waiting at the 10-yard line. Tyler Sarrazin to punt it away. And Owen trying to angle it. It went too low, and it's blocked. And Mississippi State will have it at the 20-yard line. Well, that had worked so well, in fact, led to a turnover. Beniquez Brown was the guy that got to it, but that kick was angled low, just as the last two had been.
Here comes Beniquez Brown again. Remember, he had the area earlier, but he just stayed engaged, and you can't get too cute on special teams. It's still all about execution, Timmy. You got to be aware of where the defenders are all the time.
Well, they used that soccer-style approach, keeping it low, trying to get and it worked. Listen, it helped bring a turnover that gave them a field goal earlier. That time it backfired. That was more the trajectory of the kick than Beniquez Brown blocking it. 1st and 10. Shumpert the setback in motion. Back with a play fake. Incomplete. Intended for Justin Johnson, a converted wide receiver, true freshman from Hoover, Alabama. The intended receiver.
It gets tougher to score down here when you get in the red zone. Everything compresses from 6,500 square feet to 1,300. You don't have to defend the deep ball down here. It becomes very difficult to score.
Well, they really have not allowed Dak to be anything other than a passer tonight. He's not used his legs at all in this game. Holloway is stopped in his tracks. You know, and David Duggan, the longtime defensive coordinator, said, you know, you'd rather have Dak Prescott beat you with his arm than with his legs. Elijah Parker with a stop. Number 16, and junior from Brandon, Mississippi. 3rd and 10. He steps up. That pass is caught at the 7-yard line by Johnson. Well, just outside I thought it was the 7, but he was pushed back at the 11. They're going to give him the 9-yard line, which is good enough for a 1st and goal.
Timmy, to your point earlier, last year, Dak Prescott would have pulled that ball down and run it.
Yep. Now, he got nicked up late in the season, and it cost Mississippi State. He was not at 100%. Up the middle, Shumpert. He got hammered at the 5-yard line. Wow, what a pop that was. Number 32, Xavier Thigpen with the hit. Well, he stuck him. Shumpert remains the lone setback, and whistle stops play. Golden Eagles want a timeout on this 2nd down and goal coming up. And Todd Monken has had a number of breaks go his way, but that last punt enables Dak Prescott to have a tremendous opportunity. They've got it inside the 10 when we come back. On Tuesday, the one and only Colin Cowherd makes his debut on FS1. The Herd is back on, one of the most unique voices in sports. It premieres Tuesday at noon Eastern, only on FS1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. It's smart sports talk. Boy, does he have an opinion. Whoa! We heard about it from the seminar.
Yes, he does.
Really love having him on the team.
Good people, man.
2nd and goal for Mississippi State. Oh, nice splitting the zone. Justin Johnson, touchdown. Well, they did it with motion, didn't they, Spencer?
They did. Anytime Justin Johnson gets, he's so athletic. If you get a man-on-man with the linebacker, that's the matchup that you're looking for. That's like stealing, Timmy. Easy, flat route. You see him there, get it to him quickly, get that head around, and let him score. Here you can see, again, man-on-man matchup. You can see the linebacker coming underneath. The defensive end actually came and created pressure, but Johnson just got to that corner and did what he does best, and that's score.
Weston Graves will try for the extra point. So the Bulldogs reclaim the lead 14-10 with just under 11 minutes remaining in the second. Nothing boring about this matchup. In-state teams getting with it. Familiarity breeds contempt and intensity. Magnificent atmosphere here at the Rock tonight. And the favorite team from the powerful SEC got out to a shaky start. But Justin Johnson has answered after a Southern Mississippi turnover. Dan Mullen with all kinds of confidence. John Hevesy, you see there the running backs, offensive coordinator, old offensive line guy that's been with Dan. They were together with Urban Meyer at Florida back in the day, talking with Dak. And here's the kick, 3 yards deep. It's Curtis McKell bringing it out. And just shy of the 20-yard line. Let's get a quick game break. Our Los Angeles update from Jenny Tan.
Tim, thank you. Number 15, Arizona State visiting Texas A&M. The Sun Devils were trying to make a game of it late in the fourth, but Christian Kirk not going to let that happen with this 66-yard catch and run. Texas A&M wins 38-17. Tim, another Pac-12 upset today.
Yeah, the Pac-12 North really had a difficult week. 4 losses in all 3 on this weekend. Specifically, Jenny, and that was a litmus test, I think, in a lot of people's images and impressions of the SEC West versus the Pac-12 South in that game in Houston.
It sure was, and I think today, and again, in all fairness and balance there, John Chavis making his debut for Texas A&M clearly had a factor in that game, makes them dangerous in the SEC West.
Berkovici's an outstanding quarterback they had to defend from Arizona State. And another sack. Jefferson does it again. He has owned the right side of that offensive line of Southern Miss.
Yeah, Jefferson just shows you his athleticism. Then if you're going to be a back and try to take that on late with a running start, there's no way you can do that. Ito is just way too small to be trying to take him on full like that. That's a mismatch big time.
So it's 2nd and 18 now. Jalen Richard has come in. We've seen Hayes, Ito, Smith, and Richard. They're both in the backfield now. Richard and Smith. Good cutback by Richard. But look at the quickness of Jefferson again. How about him, huh?
Yeah, the quickness was there, but again, one of the things you saw in that last play was Chip Lindsey taking advantage of the speed and quickness, and on that quick pop play, those guys jetting upfield are actually taking themselves out of the play that made that yardage possible, Tim, at 6 yards plus.
Well, 3rd down and 12. Southern Miss, when you think about it, critical here that they give their defense a little chance to breathe a little. Down now by 4, 14-10. Mississippi State showing pressure.
They're coming.
Well, I think they may have induced a flag.
False start. Number 72 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Well, don't flinch. He did. Todd Monken's team loses the yards they got on that run by Smith and Richard.
You know, Tim, typically there's one player in most schemes that can give you some sense of whether or not it's a true sugar look, that is just giving an illusion, or if they're really coming. On that particular look, it was Elijah Staley. His alignment, because there was no one over the top to cover his responsibility, was a dead clue that they were going to bring out everyone.
3rd down, 17. Quick wide receiver screen to Thomas. And the Mississippi State reaction very quick and emphatic from Will Redmond. He has played a tremendous amount at that position, but this is his first career start, but ranked very highly in terms of his ceiling at the next level by so many scouts around the country. Some would argue when they have Tevez Calhoun to go along with Redmond, Mississippi State could have two of the best corners in tandem in the SEC.
Yeah,
Saracen will punt it away.
You don't find very many corners that like to field the way Redmond did. He's willing to put his body on the line.
Wow. Another low one. Could have very easily been blocked again. It's going to roll dead at the 40-yard line. Well, it was an interesting and historic year, really, for Mississippi State. It all began as an unranked team. Dak Prescott did it to his home state boys, LSU. He took them down. Remarkable game for him. First win for State at LSU since '91. Then after a bye week, they took down another top 10 team, Texas A&M. They dropped 48 on them. And then a week later, the third-ranked Bulldogs at that point took on and knocked off #2 Auburn in the biggest game ever, arguably in Starkville. Jumped out to a 21-0 lead. And their ascent to #1 was complete, and it lasted 5 weeks, longer than any other team was ranked #1 last season. Little jet sweep action coming.
Jet sweeping a little Dana Holgerson reverse Utah pass there. You know,
Malik Deer, #22.
Nice little changeup.
Their 15th consecutive game with a touchdown. That's yet another opportunity at 17 records. He's broken 15, and he's probably got 2 more within his sights before we get to the halfway mark of this season. 2nd and 6. Here's from pressure. First time Dak has been flushed. That pass is dropped by Ross. Boy, that was a wonderful ad-lib job by Prescott. And Ross simply didn't reel it in.
David Bertucci was bringing, number 17, was bringing pressure on the backside of it. You can see that's what forced the quarterback wide. And Dak puts it right on the spot. He was right in his breadbasket. He just dropped it.
3rd down and 6. Shepard has come in at setback. He goes in motion. He'll take the swing pass. I think he may have stepped out a yard shy, maybe 2 yards shy of the first down. You know, Nelson Jr., Picasso went under him a bit, but lack of awareness there cost them a first down. He was losing his balance just a little, but I think he may have lost sight of where he was and where the chains were located.
I think Gus Wally was out in front of him, giving him an opportunity to stay in bounds. It was a nice shield block he made.
Logan Cook, number 43, will punt it away. Casey Martin is back deep. That was a big stop for Southern Miss. Their goal is to be in this thing in the second half. When we talked to Todd Munkin, timeout taken.
Timeout, Southern Miss.
By Southern Miss.
Their second of the first half.
He just wants his underdog team to be in it in the second half.
Timmy, it's already a win as far as I'm concerned. Based on what they did last year, getting shut out.
Yeah, it was 49-0 a year ago at this time in Starkville.
Hattiesburg is a beautiful place. That's where I met my first wife. Hi, everyone. I'm Jay, and that's Dan. Coming up on the State Farm Halftime, an action-packed Saturday, including a last-second Hail Mary and great freshman debut.
Plus, an historic upset for Temple.
Our analysts Joel Klatt and Matt Leinart will join us as well. Back to Tim and Spencer.
Jay and Dan, I should tell them, with the years of experience, it's a lot more economical to have ex-partners in television than ex-partners in life. You know what I mean?
A lot cheaper,
Should
man.
do that, yes. It is a punt formation now for Mississippi State. I'll be coming up at halftime and catching you up on a busy, busy day in college football. Casey Martin is back deep, standing just outside his own 10. High boot from Cook. He deked him. That was a nice deke on the part of Martin. He faked as though he was about to catch it. No one from Mississippi State was near the ball. Well, if the Golden Eagles pull off the upset, there may be a line outside the door at Carter's Jewelry in nearby Petal, Mississippi. Anyone who bought any jewelry there in August, okay, is eligible for a free refund if Southern Miss wins today. So, by the way, if you're speaking of gifts for your spouse,
right,
former wives or current wives,
bling,
yes.
huh? We got bling happening.
Look at that, a standing room only top to the rock. here in Hattiesburg.
This place packed, man, holds about 36,000, man, and it is jam-packed.
It is, and they've waited a long time. Brett Favre was quarterbacking for Curly Hallman the last time Mississippi State played in this building. Jalen Richard, a quick burst out to the 25-yard line, undercut by Will Redmond.
Well, Redmond is not afraid to stick his nose in there. I mean, the guy is an elite corner. Not only can he cover, but he's just so physically gifted and talented, man. It's very rare that you see a cover corner and a guy with his size stick his nose in the crowd like he does there. He's a willing party every time he straps it on.
2nd and 4. Oh, it's wide open. Absolutely wide open. And caught beyond the 40 to the 42-yard line. That's Nathan Davis. Of a backup H-back role for him tonight.
Well, the coverage was really soft, and Davis just really came out of there, man. Nobody expected him. This is game plan. You don't expect the backup to be an integral part of what you're doing defensively in terms of coverage responsibility, and he made him pay for ignoring it.
Nick Mullins has used 9 different receivers tonight. Chip Lindsey's game plan has looked awfully effective. Another quick pop right up the gut to nearly midfield. Jalen Richard again. And a late flag comes in. Little extracurricular taking place between the interior lineman for Southern Mississippi and one of the linebackers. I think that's Jerry Harris, 74, that got a little bit late with his tap, and he may have been the one caught. The extracurricular activity began, and he took it on a little too long.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the offense, number 75. 15-yard penalty. 2nd down. That foul occurred after the play.
I'm not sure if that. Yeah, it is Bates. It's Oliver Bates rather than 74, who I think came in to defend Bates after the reaction from Mississippi State. Harris will spend some time on the pine after that mistake.
And it's unfortunate too, Timmy. Those kind of situations really speaks to a player not having his head in the game and looking. It's really a selfish move.
Yeah, can't lose your poise. 2nd and 20. Mullins again, crossing pattern. Robertson. He's ahead to the 45-yard line.
Pass complete to the 45-yard line.
Nice job of working underneath. Again, when you're working zone situations, you know that there's going to be somebody on the other side. So you have to find the soft spot, choke your motor if you need to, settle, bring the ball in. Nick doing a great job of working this offensive scheme.
3rd and 7. Oh, nice maneuver. Beyond the 50 to the 49. Will be a couple of yards shy of the 1st down. Redmond makes the saving tackle of Jalen Richard, and that penalty ultimately will cost Southern Miss. Put them in a position now for 4th and 2, though it does appear as though they may be willing to go for it here.
Richard showed you some of that speed right there. That's one of the change-ups here the Southern Miss has at their disposal. They'll pound you in the middle, they'll work with their receivers inside, and they'll hit you back with some speed backs.
4th and 2. Right up the middle. I don't know. It's going to be close. It will depend on the mark. They got a really positive mark earlier.
I think he's just about a link short.
No, I'm not sure. They got a really good spot. Right foot marks always beat left foot marks. And this one appears to be right on
close, Timmy.
The 47-yard. I think he's got it by about a half a football. It's a little bit like a home plate umpire that gives the black of the plate, right? When the linesman comes in and gives you a right foot mark as opposed to a left foot. Munkin believes it. Todd gave up play calling responsibilities this year for the first time. Said he just couldn't do it anymore. Dan Mullen did the same for Urban Meyer for quite some time. Always involved in the plays. By more than half the football. That's 1st down.
You're right. Todd said he had the powwow with the governor, his wife, and decided to better get out of that play call.
Yeah, big night for Chip Lindsey tonight. Former Auburn wide receivers and quarterbacks coach. And there he is. You see where the red marker is not always definite. He did lunge ahead. Got a really good mark. Linesman comes in and gives it the old right foot approach.
The previous play is under further review.
Oh, they're going to question
challenge the spot, Tim.
Yeah, they're going to challenge it.
You know, when I looked at it from this angle, it looked like he may have been just like a half a football short.
Well, but again, the red line that you see, they don't have. They cannot use that. That's for television purposes, enjoyment level only. It's about where the ball is now. It's not where the knee lands. It's where the ball is. That's the thing to remember. Where the knee goes down, the ball is where it's located. And again, that red mark, that red line you see is not official.
Well, that line wasn't there, man. And as an old wise broadcaster told me, I got to say what I see. I think he was short.
All I needed to see was a right foot spot. People tell me all the time, they say, you're really kidding about that. I said, no, when I see a right foot spot, it's generally going to favor the offense. So the review is underway.
But whether it was spotted in the correct spot or not, the bottom line is,
it's got to be indisputable, too.
It does have to be indisputable, but take nothing away from Chip Lindsey's play call, and what he's done is a tremendous job.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down.
Mike Pereira is back in our studios. Your thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, I think he's absolutely right, and I'll tell you why. Because if you really look at the live shot, you can see that the line, the first down line that's going across the field is not set up where the indicator is, the down indicator. And if you look at that, you will see that, in fact, he really was beyond where the chain rod was set, and that's why I think it was a good decision.
Good to hear from Mike Pereira. Oh, a little chicanery. Mullins looking long. He's got a receiver, but it's underthrown. It's caught. He's still caught it. Robertson inside the 5. First and goal.
Pass complete to the 3-yard line.
Mullins quickly to thank Robertson. That's his poorest throw of the night. Drastically underthrown, but Robertson, a redshirt freshman, comes back to the ball.
Well, the ball was poorly thrown and was underthrown, and Robinson did a great job of adjusting. That was the exact same play they were working on in practice yesterday, Timmy. And we talked about whether or not they would run a trick play. Why not? What do they have to lose?
Well, they go power I formation here with Richard dotting the I. Richard running low. Under his pads, they say, those offensive line coaches. Here's the trickeration.
Here again, the double toss and coming back instead of reversing it, taking more time to run that ball. They just gave it back to the quarterback, let him throw it again. That's an outstanding job of execution. Robertson finished it off. Great job of staying with the football, to be engaged and staying alert.
If you're scoring at home, it was Martin to Mitchell to Mullins to Robertson. Inside run. Close to, but not quite there, it doesn't appear. Just shy of the end zone. They brought Dylan Bradley in, the defensive end, as the up back to block for Richard. It's Bradley right up the gut. I haven't seen this since the old days of the Fridge and Booger McFarland at LSU. Using the defensive lineman to come in and take it in there. Robert Kendichi, by the way, had a touchdown today of better than 30-some yards. And that's 73-point performance for Ole Miss. Now it's 4th and goal. What will Todd Monken do here?
Well, I think you go for it, Timmy. You don't need to hold anything back. You got to go for this.
Oh, that's Bradley, and he's still down on the field. Well, you'd hate to see that using him in this role would cost him playing time in his usual position at defensive end. He is a big-time stalwart, the junior. From Macon, Mississippi. Well, he is moving that, coming off, well, mostly under his own power. Maybe more upset with himself than he is with his knee. He makes his way back to the sidelines. They are going to go for it. 4th and goal. Huge play here. Less than a half yard for the touchdown is what paces it. Richard, the setback. They go power I again. Richard, second effort. He is stopped. Mississippi State gets the job done. Beniquez Brown, A.J. Jefferson, all involved as they stone the Golden Eagles.
And that's the only question I have. With all those guys bunched into that tackle the box, you got 11 guys in that framework, Timmy. Play action begging on that particular play. You can see every maroon and white jersey locked in there, expecting the short yardage dive. That's what they got, and Southern Miss got denied.
Well, 2:01 remains. You see the disappointment there. Dan Mullen, Manny Diaz already knows they had gotten to stop. Ashton Shepard joins Dak Prescott in the Mississippi State backfield. So an 11-play, 79-yard drive, complete with a trick play that got him to the 3-yard line. Nets nothing on the scoreboard, but poor field position here for Prescott. That pass is caught by Fred Brown just outside the 5-yard line. Looking to just get a little space to work with here with under 2 to play. Southern Miss can only stop the clock one time here after using a couple of those timeouts.
See how aggressive David Dugan gets here in this situation to see if he plays it safe.
Dak decides to run it. First time tonight we've seen him in a designed running play. He's stopped by Sherrod Ruff, number 37. And a first down.
I think that was a pretty wise call. Southern Miss in a zone coverage package, just 4 men, and those linebackers bailing out of there. Excellent defense in most cases, but not for Dak Prescott. That's exactly what he wants to run against.
Pass is incomplete, a little overthrown, intended for Gabe Miles. They throw that bubble screen to him many times. That was just an out route that they missed. What a wonderful leader this young man is. He's gone through so much. Born in Sulphur, Louisiana, raised and played his high school ball at Houghton, just outside the Shreveport-Bossier area, near my home. Lost his mother back in 2013 in November. Has 2 older brothers. They're very, very close. He's just an outstanding young man. And there's Shepard, stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Game tackling by the Golden Eagles.
Some point in time on that zone replay, Timmy, there's going to be an opportunity for Dak Prescott to take it and run it. I'm curious if they'll give him that run option to do it. It's there.
A minute remaining in the first half. We'll be back. Fox Sports 1 College Football is presented by Geico. Tim Brando, Spencer Tillman, a very entertaining first half, if it has had, I should say, a number of missed opportunities. I mean, when you think about what Southern Miss has accomplished with an onside and then the trick play that got them here with Corey Robertson, but unable to get it into the end zone.
Even the trick plays, part of it, not in the end zone, but, ultimately, Timmy, even when plays aren't executed the way they should be, they've made the most of it, even when they were denied.
Well, they've decided, you know what, we're going to throw everything we can and see what happens at Mississippi State. Prescott is sacked. First one of the night for Southern Miss. Great pressure coming off the edge. 95 Poole comes through. Jabari Poole, number 85.
He's coming off the edge, Tim, and he's working on the tackle. You can see the underneath, just a bull rush move, taking the edge on the outside, and Poole does a great job of pushing all the way through to the quarterback, sacking Dak.
Well, that was big. It's unfortunate when you think about it that the Golden Eagles only had that one timeout remaining. Well, what you would have done if you could have stopped the clock a couple more times. Casey Martin is back deep. Devin Bell will boot it with precious little time remaining. Martin calls for a fair catch at the 42. They do have time for 2 plays, perhaps. So one big pass, perhaps, and maybe a field goal. Both of these teams looking ahead. Southern Miss wants to win Conference USA, win their division. Louisiana Tech did a year ago after an off year. Todd Monken thinks they can do it this season. Mississippi State has a big one at home next week in Starkville against LSU. An LSU team that has a lot of questions about its quarterbacking position. And, of course, Southern Miss still has a tough one at Nebraska to play. How about the way they lost today? Mangum in for Taysom Hill, who's out for the year yet again. We feel terrible about that loss for Mike Riley. But BYU wins on a Hail Mary in Lincoln.
This year reminds me of kind of what happened in 2007, which began with Appalachian State upsetting Michigan, of course. Hey, it's still early, Tim. Still early.
Jalen Richard is in the backfield. And Nick Mullins is going to take a delay of game here. So that sets them back to the 46-yard line. Now, the only thing they can do here, they've used all their timeouts. So the pass, if it's going to be completed and they get a second chance for a kick, it's got to be to the sidelines. Anything to the middle of the field, unless it's a first down, will not stop the clock. It is to the sidelines, and it's picked off. Will Redmond. Mississippi State knew that too, apparently. And with 2 seconds left, he's out of bounds at the 48-yard line, and Dak will get a chance to heave it to the Southern Miss end zone.
Timmy, you're right about having the opportunity to work the edges in the flat, but you know what? I would have taken a shot downfield in that particular case. Nothing good can happen out of that. Even if you get reset with as few seconds as you had left, the chance of getting a second play off would be, at least with the shot, not shot at the end zone, would be small, if at all.
Dan Mullen, tell you, I got a chance to spend a lot of time with him prior to this game. Drove over to Starkville before making my way down here. This is a difficult road game when you think about it, with the relatively late start time. You're the road team. They were anxious today. They went and had a walkthrough today. They actually had a walkthrough at Oak Grove High School.
Well, he told us that he changed everything this week, practicing at night.
Prescott looking for the Hail Mary to come true. Tipped and almost picked. Almost picked out of the air for Mississippi State, but it falls incomplete. And Mississippi State's lead is 14-10. You talk to knock it down, but that one stayed in the air a little longer than maybe Southern Miss defensively would have liked. So, coming up after our short break, we'll take you back to Los Angeles for the Fox Sports Live College Football Halftime, presented by State Farm. Jay and Dan on the other side. Fox Sports 1 College Football is presented by Geico. Calling this the proverbial cherry on top on Saturday night, a late night delight in Mississippi that's closer than the experts thought. As we begin the third quarter, along with Spencer Tillman, Tim Brando, happy to have you with us. And if you look at this game, Dak Prescott has had, well, listen, it's been, you mentioned it, 420 yards every game out, a streak of that. They're going to need 300 yards to get to that 420 number. As you look at it, Southern Miss really should be leading this game.
And it's going to be a tall order. Just look at that bottom stat there. Look at the time of possession, the disparity there. It's all about offensive chances. And you mix in a few trick plays, the move to respectability becomes a possibility if Southern Miss can continue to make that clock tick and then manage and then dominate that time of possession category. Let me tell you, Timmy, it's early yet, but I see the potential for an upset here.
You can argue that Mississippi State has been somewhat vanilla, and maybe with LSU next week, there would be an inclination to think in those terms. Brandon Holloway does have the 100-yard return for a touchdown to get Mississippi State on the board. Obviously, they'll stay away from him. They pooch the kick, and it's fumbled. Inside the 10, way back at the 5-yard line. Gabe Miles recovers it. It was fumbled by Mississippi State's Gary Green. You'll see some of, from a defensive standpoint, destined to replace Bernardrick McKinney in time, but that muff almost led to disaster.
Green's just got to do a better job of making decisions there. Then Miles got to be aware of it as well. Again, that's about communication and not being engaged in the contest. You go back and pick that ball up just like a receiver at the highest point. You never let it climb on top of your helmet.
So from the 5-yard line, Dak Prescott, Heisman candidate, many thought a front runner, with some pedestrian numbers to start. Ross on a quick out. He had a big catch early, but he also had a huge drop midway through the second quarter. He's a couple of yards shy of a first down. We got a flag down. Maybe De'Runnya Wilson guilty of a hold. Let's see.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 37 on the defense.
Wow.
15-yard
Huge
penalty,
mistake by Sherrod Ruff. Well, you got him pinned back. That's the last thing that Todd Monken wanted to see.
Well, you can see again the quarterback is there defenseless with his hands up, and that's just not a smart move.
No reason
so
for it.
we're seeing guys on both sides of the ball coming out in the second half not being engaged.
Little chippy. Can't do that. You see the penalties. Southern Miss with 7 of 54 yards. It'll be interesting to me, Spencer, to see if the superior size and depth, you know, they've been plugging away, running the football. Dak has not looked to do much outside the pocket. I'll be interested to see if Southern Miss can hold up and stay strong against this bigger SEC opponent in the second half.
Well, you remember what Todd Monken told us in our meeting. He said that, look, we're at a point now where we believe we've got enough depth to deal with that. So I think that they're going to be ready from a physical standpoint. They've got a new guy in there in their conditioning program. They're ready.
On first down, Shepard. Nice balance that time by the relatively tall 6'2", 218-pound junior from Fulton, Mississippi, by way of Itawamba Junior College. Naeem Mustafa, you mentioned one of those backups. They've got Oklahoma transfers, Miami, Auburn. Anthony Swain came from there. They believe, as you mentioned, that the depth chart is a lot better on the defensive side of the ball this season. Prescott, a design run. This is his specialty. Look at him go. I'd say the Heisman frontrunner has decided to take the ball and the initiative. Denarius Antoine saves the touchdown, and Dak is all smiles.
Timmy, that run has been there all day long. You can see the end gets wide outfield, and then Warren does a nice job of sealing and reaching on the outside. That play has been there intentionally in the first half. They've not intended to run Dak Prescott, trying to preserve it.
I think they've been vanilla offensively. That pass is low and incomplete, intended for De'Runnya Wilson, who was the big-time go-to guy all last season. And then once he got targeted a lot, they had to turn to Ross. Kalen Reed, number 11, was there providing the coverage.
You notice how quiet Wilson was in the first half. Again, another indicator that intentionally they've been trying to keep something in their back pocket, not trying to expose their great players. They're looking toward LSU, I guarantee you.
You can make a case that that can be a dangerous thing to do. Play fake. Underneath. Well, the pass is caught by Shepard, but he slides down shy of the first down. They'll mark it back at the 8-yard line.
And again, listen, you don't judge a guy for trying to manage his situation, and that's not what we're talking about here. It's just when you give a team that is trying to make their way back to respectability, the sense that they can achieve, you can get caught betwixt and between your strategy and what you need to do to get a win.
Ruff is having a difficult time getting up, favoring his knee. Trainers are out there to take a look at Sherrod. And they constantly tell you if you can't get up, make sure you go down, and that's exactly what he's done. He's going to wait for some help. LSU, by the way, did not get to play tonight. The game was canceled because of inclement weather and lightning that was in the Baton Rouge area, which means Mississippi State will be a decided advantage going into that game, with LSU having to open their season with Brandon Harris in his first game as a starter, as opposed to game number 2. They were hoping to play McNeese State tonight and did not get that game in. There's been all kinds of weather in the southeast. Georgia's game with ULM ended sooner than expected in Athens, Georgia. Unfortunately, the weather's been around us, not with us tonight here at Hattiesburg. Ruff able to get to the sidelines. under most of his own power. 3rd down and 2 coming up with the ball at the 8-yard line. This is a huge sequence for the Southern Miss defense.
It really is. This is a momentum shifter.
3rd and 2. 3rd and 2. Michael Smith, 91, big defensive end. Ross in motion. Dak keeps it. And he looks to be very close, but maybe not. Maybe not a first down. We'll see where they mark it. Looks to be on spot, and he'll be right where he needs to be for a first down.
Well, you get down here and you wonder if they'll still continue to run inside, and as they get closer, the jump pass will be in vogue.
1st and goal. Jumper at the setback. Play fake, pass is caught. Well defended, though, as Darian Hutcherson made the grab. Senior known more as a blocker than anything else, and he is stopped in his tracks.
Well, he was stopped in his tracks. I think that was surely closing. Then on the tackle there, nice job of tackling and wrapping it up.
Picasso Nelson Jr. Yeah, nice defensive job. 2nd and goal. Wilson incomplete. Dak's got a rocket arm. He's worked a great deal in the offseason on his touch passes, those passes that require a little air underneath them. But there are times even a gifted receiver can have trouble with those lasers.
Yeah, Wilson, though, he's got that basketball background, a former All-Alabama Mr. Basketball. If anybody can catch that pass, he can. He's got tremendous catch radius, but that ball had some mustard on it, Tim.
3rd and goal. Prescott flushed. Look out. Pass thrown. Touchdown. Gus Wally, the tight end, makes the grab. Well, they use Hutcherson once. Wally, a youngster, the junior from Greene County High School in Mississippi, with the grab.
This is what separates Dak Prescott. You can see Wally does a nice job of settling in that zone and then walking backwards and then across, which he's supposed to do when the play breaks down parallel to the action of his quarterback. Dak stays alive, creates and scores.
You saw DeShadrick Truly. He lost him there, number 8. He was upset with himself, but that freelance ad-lib movement is what makes Prescott special. Trouble with the snap, but Weston Graves puts it in.
Timmy, it was the roughing the passer penalty that set it all up.
Yep.
See here, but for that, they don't have an opportunity to continue the drive.
We invite you to huddle up with college football experts in live web chats all season long. A new guest every week. The Edward Jones College Football Huddle on foxsports.com. A couple of my favorites you can find at foxsports.com. Stuart Mandel and Bruce Feldman. Now you see the scoring summary after, as we showed you going to break, the roughing the passer penalty. It enabled Dak to make a big play with his legs, something that he had not done in the first half, and then to Wally for the touchdown. Yeah, he looks up to Tim Tebow a great deal, plays the game very similarly. Dan, of course, had him as his offensive coordinator at Florida. Also looks up to Cam Newton and Peyton Manning. He was a counselor for the 2nd straight year at the Manning Passing Academy in nearby Thibodaux, Louisiana. Impressed the Mannings, and he's impressed, obviously, by the right influences in his life at that position. Kick is coming down to Curtis McKell. And he gets it out to the 33-yard line. And Spencer, you touched on it. They really spread the ball around, didn't they?
Well, Chip Lindsey is calling the shots here to the right, putting stress on that corner play, and then another swing pass to the opposite direction. Then how about working the tight end in the middle of the field, and then, of course, going to the corner with your back. That's the way you need to put stress on the backside so that they can cover the entire breadth and width of the field. You got a shot. Then occasionally throw the 50-50 ball up with the trickery.
Well, they really used Parks and Washington, Jay-Sean Washington, a little bit more like an H-back when he's in at tight end. Parks more of the prototypical tight end, neither of whom were playing the position in practice 2 weeks ago. Mullins in dangerous territory, and it's picked off. Intercepted. It's Richie Brown. Playing in the middle where McKinney once was and where Gary Green can be. He makes the play. Youngster from Long Beach, Mississippi, and that was in tight quarters and a huge turnover.
Well, a couple of things made that play possible. It was an ill-advised pass, but the pressure on the quarterback put it in here. And again, when you look at Richie Brown on the opposite side of this, man, this is just a scrum, Timmy. You can see the pressure coming from the outside. Quarterback never saw it coming. Richie Brown there for the interception. Tremendous job.
Pass was intended for DJ Brown. So this is, we talked about how difficult the situation was for the Southern Miss defense a few moments ago. This is a must-stop circumstance now. We give Mississippi State a 3-score lead. It's going to be difficult treading for them. That pass is overthrown. Dak would love to have that one back. Incomplete. Looking for Jesse Jackson, number 86.
Good. Revan was wide open on that nice little streaking crossing route in the corner. Dak just overthrew him.
That's the pass we were talking about that he's worked on a great deal in the offseason. He knows where the priorities need to be in terms of elevating his game at the position. 2nd and 10. He keeps it. Again, this is something we didn't see as much of in the first half. And I would argue it's because, hey, you're being vanilla. Now you're in a game and you got to go to your go-to guy.
Well, you're looking at the end man on the line of scrimmage. That's the simplest read you possibly can have. He's pulling it out. If he goes upfield or crashes it, that play has been there again since the beginning of the game, Tim. He just hadn't taken advantage of it until a couple plays ago.
From the 27, 1st down. And we'd love to have that one back too. Misfires intended for Holloway.
Now, a couple of passes out of these last 3 have been off the mark, and so that accuracy is going to come back to really negatively affect the execution. And that's what Dan told us he wants to do. He wants to play clean. He wants to have his game plan working, and that's, if he could write the script as to what would take place, that's what he wants. So far, Dak has been pretty good, but it's been because of his legs and not because of his arm.
Holloway remains in the backfield on 2nd and 10. Unloads it underneath again, but stopped at the 21-yard line is Gabe Miles. He may be the most physically conditioned player on the Mississippi State team, Miles. They say during the summer workouts, everyone else is perspiring. He's as fresh as they come. Bouncing around there. 3rd down and 4.
3rd down.
Prescott is flush. Got some room in front of him. Pass is almost picked off. Denarius Antoine almost had an interception and a lot of green grass in front of him.
Antoine playing more like a kind of a robber technique, free in the middle of the field.
Ooh. One more step.
Right off the tip of his fingers, man. He'd have been hitting his head on the goalpost if he'd have snagged that one.
Well, Jesse Jackson was the intended receiver. So a few errant passes that time, and Dak's upset with himself. Leads to a field goal try coming from 38 yards. Weston Graves. Elian Sobiesk was 12 or 14 a year ago. These two teams each had quality place kicking a season ago that they're trying to replace. So far, so good for Graves. That was a very big stop, though, for Southern Miss defensively. Can they answer? Use the width of the field to find the seam. And once you do, make State pay. We'll find out. Fox Sports 1 College Football is presented by Geico. Beautiful night. May soon be morning. Here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Tim Brando, Spencer Tillman.
Much to the chagrin of Dan Mullen, right?
Well, as long as they could get back home with a W. They'll be satisfied with LSU coming in, having not played a game this week because of inclement weather in Baton Rouge. High kick for Curtis McKell inside his 5. He brings it out. Stopped at the 25-yard line. Let's get this game break from Jenny Taft back in our Los Angeles studios. Birthday girl, take it away.
Well, Tim, as you know, 5 Pac-12 teams upset this weekend. Looks like number 8 USC will not be another. How about this 65-yard touchdown run by senior Trey Madden? The Trojans up 21-0 against Arkansas State. Tim, Spencer, back to you guys.
All right, Jenny, thank you. Best thing that could have happened to Steve Sarkisian was have a game played.
That's right. He needed a distraction.
Yes,
didn't
he did.
Cody Kessler's got a lot of talent around him, Timmy. That should help out.
I like them. I had them in my college football playoff. Yeah, coming into the season.
Well, they're back to full strength now.
They are.
So
absolutely. Ito Smith is in the backfield on first down. He breaks free, and he's got speed. Nice stiff arm, too, against Talando Cleveland. And a late flag against State. Remember, Tevez Calhoun not playing with that meniscus issue that we touched on. And the youngster Cleveland a little too aggressive as he ushered him out of bounds.
Guys get frustrated when you get beat like that, you know, and got to keep your wits about you, not make a bad situation worse.
You know,
After the play was over, personal foul, late hit out of bounds, number 7. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. First down.
The speed, Timmy, here to the outside. And again, you're going to see at the end of this play, Cleveland, ill-advised push there at the face mask and then the back of the jersey to pull him down. That's what he got caught with.
You got to know better than that. 1st and 10. Just outside the 15-yard line. Mullins' last 2 passes have been intercepted. After a pretty error-free first half. This time he thinks better of it and just throws it into the ground in the general direction of Ja'Shawn Washington, who has the touchdown catch tonight.
I think what Mullins got to do is make a quicker decision like that, because everything is going to happen faster when you get down here just because of proximity, Timmy.
This is where Chip Lindsey told me he loves Mullins' leadership ability. You know, you look at him and he doesn't have a big arm. He's got big leadership skills. Seems unabashed by the 2 turnovers he's given up. Ito Smith remains in the backfield. That's Davis, the H-back, in motion. Right back to him. Spins out of 1 tackle from Brown, Richie Brown, and is down at the 13. Ito Smith's given name, as I mentioned, is Romarius, but his mom was watching the O.J. trial. This is a true story. His mom was watching the O.J. trial when he was born in '94. Thought he had pudgy cheeks and looked like Judge Ito. It stuck.
I might have requested a sidebar to consider changing that one.
I don't make this stuff up. I don't have Jay and Dan's writers in L.A. either. 3rd and 7. Over the middle, Martin, right at the 10-yard line. Be shy of the first down by 4 yards. Kendrick Market, 26, outstanding senior from Batesville, Mississippi, South Panola Junior College, making the stop.
Casey Martin hanging on to that ball. That's a great job. Market there on the stop. But boy, I tell you, when you get down here, Timmy, you have to really be strong mentally, physically, because you know you're going to get hammered pretty good.
Well, they want to get points. With this much time remaining, you can understand why. Brock Lee will try the field goal from 27 yards. Lance Shuford is the deep snapper. He's really good at what he does.
And the 27-yard field goal.
And he makes it happen. And it's 24-13. Dak Prescott, who along with Trevon Boykin at TCU and Connor Cook of Michigan State, probably the top 3 quarterbacks looking for a run at the Heisman. 24-13 our score. Tim Brando along with Spencer Tillman. Here is a little nice job done when you think about it from the kicker, given where the laces were.
Look at the laces, though, Timmy.
Yep.
That one almost didn't make it because of the placement of those laces, and just does.
Just gets it through. We almost had an iron unkind
That's
with the
right.
upright there.
A little hoop at Jackson.
Broccoli got it through. His first performance since transferring from Louisiana Lafayette.
Let's go, we go! I love him.
They pooch it again. They don't want Holloway to have another opportunity. This one's taken by Gabe Miles. He reverses his field a couple of times. Navigates his way to the 27-yard line. Well, we touched on the history between these two. Way back in 1935, Mississippi State visiting then, they were taking on the Southern Teachers College. That's what Southern Mississippi was known as at that time. The Bulldogs won that game over the then Yellow Jackets, not Golden Eagles, 27-0. That was the final. And when they built the Rock, the top of the Rock where we are,
right.
It was 1938, and it's called the Rock because players had to come into this building bringing cement. The grandstand here is made totally out of cement, hence the name Rock.
I thought it was because everybody just, you know, maybe there was a former prison or something.
No, that's not the case. I know it sounds that way. Flags down as Holloway gets free yet again out to the 45-yard line. It looks like it's going to go against State.
The one thing I noticed about you talking about the Rock and the fans that are here, they're so passionate about their team, and again, getting back to that level of respectability that defined them prior to that difficult run that they had.
It's a big, big opportunity for this program here.
Holding number 62 on the offense. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
And we should take time also to applaud Scott Strickland, the athletic director at Mississippi State, and Dan Mullen for playing this game. In this new wave of college football playoff era and big-time conferences, sometimes the in-state rivalry game goes away. And I know Dan Mullen has received thanks from the governor's office, a Southern Miss grad. These types of games have a place in the college landscape. Holloway beyond the 25 to the 27-yard line.
And to finish off that point, Timmy, a lot of times coaches are scared to make those dates because if they lose those games, that puts them at a disadvantage, particularly when it comes to running. I mean, Oklahoma went through that when I was there. They didn't want to play Tulsa University.
The wonderful thing, though, too, we understand the budgetary differences between the Power 5 and the Group of 5. This helps keep revenue in the state.
That's right.
2nd and 10. Oh, shovel pass, that's a thing of beauty. Complete to Wally, the tight end. Both of these teams, Spencer, have used their tight end, something neither of us anticipated when we talked to the respective coaching staffs.
You know, part of it is, Timmy, you manage your game based on what they're taking away from you. And so in the first half, if they've taken away the tight end, then obviously you're not going to go through them. It's not rocket science.
Again, an errant pass from Dak. He's not been sharp tonight with the intermediate passes. Fred Ross on what is just a simple wide receiver screen, overshot by Dak.
Yeah, Dak has really got to get that aspect of his game back in line, because again, he talked to us last year, as a matter of fact, about him being more proficient in those types of things. And everybody knows he can run. Everybody knows about his leadership. But what we're looking for is to see if he can put a team on his shoulders via the pass. We know what he can do in the run game.
2nd and 10. Holloway in motion. Dak runs into a lot of Golden Eagles. A loss of 3 there, back to the 40-yard line. Nice penetration defensively. Southern Mississippi holding its own, and their depth really showing up. Brian Anderson leading the way, number 18.
Well, they're not short on passion, along with the crowd and the fans. Golden Eagles flying high right now, baby.
Prescott underneath, got his man, caught, first down and more. Joe Morrow, known more for his blocking than his receiving in this offense. Stopped by Denarius Antoine, number 12.
Morrow coming up with the big play. Dak avoiding what little pressure there was, and Morrow on the shallow crossing route comes underneath with that long-range body of his. getting upfield, making a couple of guys miss along the way for plus yardage.
1st and 10, Holloway. Well, that play looked like it might go for a greater distance than it did. DeShadrick Truly, they're really high on this kid. Charleston, Mississippi, East Mississippi Community College. Got a lot of junior colleges in Mississippi. I think I've credited a couple of high schools for being JCs tonight, and my apologies for that. But they do. This state has more junior colleges than any state its size. Holloway. Not much that time.
Timmy, go back to that point you're talking about, the willingness to play these games. Education is undergoing a bit of a kind of a metamorphosis right now, and so for Coach Mullen to take this game on, not be afraid of the challenge there, is really speaking volumes to his awareness of the economics that you talked about a minute ago.
He credits the fact that they get to play closer to home, and the parents of these kids at Mississippi State can come to the games. 3rd down. Prescott again goes to a safety valve. It's wide open for Shepard. Tripped up at the 25-yard line by Cornell Armstrong, number 3, sophomore cornerback. Prescott can take a hit.
Yeah, he can, and just against a 4-man rush, he's going to take a shot right here, right in the back as he turns it. Again, that's him turning his back on it. That's not going to be called on him. He's got to protect himself in those situations.
Well, Michael Smith coming through there to get him. Shumpert remains the setback on 1st and 10. He'll take it. And this is where we go back to, as Antoine makes the stop, John Hevesy, the co-offensive coordinator with Billy Gonzalez, who came over from Florida, that helps Dan Mullen with the wide receivers. Use those big offensive linemen and wear down Southern Mississippi defensively. We'll see over time if that continues. Steady diet of Shumpert on this drive, and he's stopped by Tarek Wright, redshirt senior from Gadsden, Alabama. He and Denarius Antoine collaborate.
Antoine and Wright coming up on that one. The field, there's no fight loss out of this team, and they are really scrappy. Tim, you talk about them getting tired and winded, but maybe look at the body language now. They're starting to let them get the best of them, but go ahead and tell you what, they're still fighting at this point.
Prescott.
Nice turn.
Well, mix up in terms of where that route was going, it appeared. Dak, I think, was expecting a cut or curl to the right.
Kalen Reed had a chance to turn on that ball if he could have located it and then turned back and catch it. You can see single route coverage. Reed has his back turned. He does try to locate it there at the last minute.
I think he was thinking either back shoulder or a turn to the other direction, and he was talking with Morrow about it as they went to the sideline.
Yeah. He was playing the inside route, so he understood what they were intending to do. So when he eventually turned around, he'd given up on him.
Graves will try the field goal from 36 yards. Well done. Well, both young kickers have made their coaches happy. Dan Mullen, the 2014 AP National Coach of the Year. 27-13 our score. Well, they're legends, icons, and warriors. And starting Wednesday, 2 of the biggest names in the UFC will face off as coaches and interim featherweight champion. Boy, he's something special. Conor McGregor and Uriah Faber join an all-new season. The California Kid. You're right, Spencer. The Ultimate Fighter. The mayhem begins Wednesday at 10 Eastern and Pacific, only on Fox Sports 1.
I like him when he had the braids, though. When he took the lights out, the French braids out. Digging that, man.
It's the second time we've had. It's a good thing we have some wind tonight, because the humidity is at 92%. Something I'm accustomed to, and you are too, Mr. Sugarland, Texas.
Yes, I am, and as you are as a baseball guy too, if I can mix metaphors. So you remember the old Milo Hamilton, it's hotter than a depot stove.
Yes, it is.
Whoa.
This kick is coming down to McCall at the end zone. Curtis McCall up to the 22. Well, the last time these two played, 89 was the season, came down, and the gunslinger named Favre was playing quarterback. He went 18 for 39, 182 yards, but it was Mississippi State's Joel Logan that would end it with a 34-yard field goal with 4 seconds left. The Bulldogs beat the bigger dogs at that time, number 18 Southern Miss, 26-23. I mean, they had incredible wins during the Favre era and before that. Back in the Sammy Winder period, Reggie Collier, back in the day. Bronco. Oh boy, they had magnificent football teams here. Ito Smith remains in the backfield. Mullins will dump it to him. Oh, he's not down. They may have thought he was down. He did a little Michael Dyer Auburn move against Oregon in the BCS championship game. He kept on going. Legs were churning for the little guy, and Richie Brown finally credited with a stop, a pickup of 7.
Ito Smith about the same size. But, you know, Dyer was a little bit more weighty around the legs. Looked like an old schools out there, Robert Newhouse. You know, those little power legs.
Second and 3. Well, flag comes down. Should be procedure. False start coming.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 66 offense. 5-yard penalty, second down.
Andrew Peterson, second time he's been tagged tonight with that. .306 and counting remaining here in the third quarter. Still a 2-touchdown game. Southern Miss with life against favored Mississippi State. Let's see how the block goes from Thompson. It's pretty good, and that enables Robertson a chance to get very close to, if not enough yardage for the first down. Very close.
Yeah, DJ Thompson did an excellent job of blocking on the outside. You can see him do more than just a shield job. He may have actually held him a little bit, but the bottom line, it was effective. Had his back toward the official. You can see DJ Thompson doing just enough to allow the receiver to get outside for extra yardage.
Cleveland was the defender that couldn't get to him. They're going to measure, but it appeared at first glance to be a little short. You know, you reach a point in a game, Spencer, when you get a thought that this offense, they've had some big plays, some missed opportunities, a very exciting first half. See, the measurement is short by about 6 inches. This is a drive at the end of this quarter and going into the fourth. You could make a case is really important for Todd Monken's team to stay alive in this game.
Any team has got to learn the art of finishing, Tim. That's what it's all about. It's about a process, and until this team can get there, they can never reach the respectability that defined it for much of the last 30, 40 years.
Well, you see, they've gone 0 for 9 since converting their first 2. And they got stoned at the 1-yard line 3 straight times. At this point in the game, you look at what happened in the early moments of this third quarter with Dak Prescott sort of taking the game over. I'm sure Chip Lindsey would love to have a couple of those calls at the goal line back. His first night to call football plays for Southern Mississippi. Let's see what they do this time on 3rd and inches. It's Smith again. Oh, he almost popped that. Cleveland with a shoestring tackle just shy of the 40. They were in that goal line defense, and he popped it.
Yeah, but Timmy, one of the things that you look at, they weren't playing it with integrity with Mississippi State. They had kind of what we call an overlook when you've got one guy outside the guard and the other guy open up. So you've got a gap there. I was really shocked that they were in that formation in such a short yardage situation.
Quick pitch, Richard. Uh-oh. More trickery. This pass is floating and underthrown again and incomplete. I think there was pressure that forced that pass to be errant by Beniquez Brown, 42. And although the receiver was there, too much pressure off the edge again as the junior from Florence, Alabama, got to Mullins.
Well, you know he's the quarterback of the defense, and not only is he smart, he's got tremendous speed. Whether he's coming from the edge or whether coming from inside, they'll game and deal him from time to time. The end goal is to affect the quarterback, and he did an excellent job on that play.
Mullins again off the play fake, right to Jason Washington. And the H-back gets it down to the 30.
He's hurt, though, Timmy.
Trying for extra yardage. Well, you hope in this humidity that it's not the knee and maybe it's a cramp. That's all you can hope for in this situation. Remember, they are down a couple of tight ends. Both of them, Taylor Marini and Julian Allen, were out during the fall workouts. They lost both of their top two tight ends out, which forced Ricky Parks to move from defensive end and this young man to number 2 on the depth chart.
You can turn, Jay-Sean, he's turning there and pirouetting, and he takes a shot right on that knee.
Yeah, left knee.
The lateral.
Yeah, that's
the
tough.
Outside, that's a tough. Wow.
Kevon Coleman got him there. Clean hit, just at the wrong spot. Kevon from Archbishop Rommel High School in Metairie.
Ball spotted at the 30-yard line. First down, Southern Miss.
Hope it's not as difficult as it looked on that replay. 1st and 10. Richard inside the 25 to the 23.
Tell you what, they're finding some soft spots inside that interior line of Mississippi State.
Well, remember, they got 2 second-round draft picks off of this defense and a lot of holes to fill themselves, Mississippi State, from a year ago. When Martin just slipped after getting that wide receiver screen.
Casey Martin.
So that'll lead to 3rd down.
Timmy, they've had a tough time as Southern Miss pushing the ball down the field, and it's one thing to stretch them, but if they come to the line of scrimmage and give you press coverage, but you can look at the corners right now. Look how far off. That's the reason why they're going with these little bubble screen. They're just taking what the defense is going to give them. The first thing that Nick is looking for is the 2 deep safety look. If it's there, that ball's going to be underneath that coverage. Roll into 1, there's going to be an opportunity.
Richard, nothing there. Stopped right at the line of scrimmage.
See, that's a play action type of look. That's when you stick it in the belly of the back and then look for a pass opportunity off of that look.
Looks as though they may have some time to determine what they want to do on 4th down. We've come to the end of the 3rd quarter, and it'll be decision time for Todd Monken. Do you take the points, close to within 9, or do you put the game to some extent on the line by saying we want a touchdown on this drive? They had to settle for 3 last time. The highly anticipated opener here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi State and Southern Miss on Fox Sports 1. Fox Sports 1 college football is presented by Geico. Well, we open the 4th quarter and the decision has been made. They are going for it on 4th down from the Mississippi State 22-yard line. Nick Mullins.
Slot receiver, Timmy, right now.
Casey Martin, the slot receiver at the top. Mullins rolls to the right. Wide open is Robertson. Corey Robertson. And they used Martin as a decoy in the slot. The defense went with him, and it left Robertson open, running the quick out.
Well, you can see the coverage rolling there, and again, not from the field level, we'll appreciate it, but he was running wide open, man, and just missed it. Bad read.
So the ball is at the 17-yard line, 1st and 10. It was a huge 4th down pickup. Might have done more for him. Over the middle, pass incomplete. Robertson had a real good look at it. It was in tight quarters. But I know he's thinking, wow, I could have had this. Here's the 4th down play. Your misread you were talking about, Smith.
Again, it's the slot receiver. The outside corner comes up and leads in the post route there in the back. Now the play that just completed. The pass is right there over the top. You have 2 chances to make touchdowns,
sure
man. Timmy, back-to-back plays.
Yep. A lot of missed opportunities for Southern Miss tonight. 2nd and 10. Robertson again. Ooh, nice jitterbug to get inside the 15 to about the 14 and manage more. That Mississippi State defense is quick to react. They may be spread out from time to time, and Southern Miss has used formation to do that. But Richie Brown, Jefferson, Those guys are so quick to the ball.
They really are. But, you know, we were talking about the integrity of this offensive scheme team. Tim, one of the things I noticed was so many times players were running wide open. It was just a matter of whether or not he could recognize the coverage and find the receiver.
3rd and 7. Mullins with all kinds of time. It's caught at the 10-yard line by Richard. And another 4th down is coming. Ahead about 2.5 yards shy of a 1st down. Call it 3. And I think they're going to go ahead and take the points and cut it to 9.
That's right.
Yep. Or actually cut it to 11. They need the points. At this stage, you don't want to put the game on the line, says Todd Monken.
Well, they had plenty of opportunities to get 7, and they just missed it. So you got a chance to get 3. Don't leave them.
Broccoli looking for his 3rd field goal. The last one was tough. Laces were in the wrong position. That time, well done. And right through the middle. Late flag comes down. Wait a minute. Hang on. Late flag has come down.
12 seconds remaining in tonight's game. Mississippi State 27.
Unless it's a dead ball foul, and it might be. The kick will stay. I think it will be a dead ball foul.
16.
We'll wait for David Smith to tell us.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 88 on the defense. That 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. Timeout.
Well, Nick James is guilty again. That will give Southern Miss something to think about with regard to the way they want to handle this kick when we return. What do the last 5 Heisman winners have in common? The ability to beat you with both their arms and their legs. Mariota got some help, of course, from so many other players, but RG3, Cam Newton, we can go on and on. Jameis Winston, what do they have in common? They can beat you with both their arm and their legs. And how about the Nissan Heisman Watch for week 1, Spencer? Who do you have?
Well, I like Trayvon Boykin. You know, they played a tough, underrated Minnesota team. I think that they're a quality defensive team. Ezekiel Elliott is going to do exactly what he needs to do as a national championship running back. I think he's an elite player, Timmy.
I like the Deshaun Watson call, too.
You like
partner.
that?
Yeah, I do. He's special.
Well, the only reason I didn't go deeper on that was because Chad Morris, the guy that orchestrates that offense, is at SMU now.
Yeah. Well, they decided to go on sides. I thought there was a chance of that, given the 15-yard penalty. But J.T. Gray this time, number 45, made the recovery for Mississippi State. They had options after the 15-yard penalty. Not giving up terrible field position by going on sides there. It's good field position, but worth the try, don't you think?
I think so, absolutely. I think Kevin Williams did an excellent job of waiting until that ball goes 10 yards. You still see guys head in the game, and I think that's what Southern Miss can be proud of. When you go back and look at the tape of this, staying tough and tight. I know what the score is right now, but you're looking and evaluating guys' engagement levels, and they're still in it, Timmy, as far as I'm concerned.
On 1st down, Holloway. You know, the nice thing about Mississippi State's ground attack, and Josh Robinson's gone. He was their 1,000-yard rusher of a season ago. But in Shumpert and Holloway, they complement one another so well. We haven't seen the freshman Harris Williams or Dontavian Lee, another redshirt freshman. But they've got a committee, they think, that can give them the same kind of production they had a season ago with Robinson. They go jet sweep Ross. And Southern Mississippi was ready for it. Great reaction by the Golden Eagles defensively.
And they were swarming big time. And again, Tim, that's the one way you can tell whether or not you're engaged. Defense indicates it will reveal a team's consciousness, whether or not they're still in the game, mentally, physically. There's no other way to play defense but aggressive.
3rd down 11. Shumpert in the game. That's set back. De'Rania Wilson, the big target, back in the game for Mississippi State. Prescott. Crossing pattern. Cressy. Right on cue. De'Rania Wilson, 1st down. First catch for him. Big catch, too. The 2-sport star. Original hooper. He's got speed, size. He's the total package.
Truly was there on the stop.
He got held, too. First and 10 with the ball at the 49 now of Southern Mississippi. Dak going long, taking a shot just beyond the outstretched arms of Freddie Brown.
Nice idea. That was a run-pass option. Got man coverage, and Dak decided to take it up top.
That was a nice pass.
It was a nice pass. It was off the excellent option route, and he saw the single receiver matched up one against a safety. Great decision. Accuracy again, or lack thereof. It's the difference. It's a game of inches, Tim.
Second and 10. Dak design draw. And the Golden Eagles defense just ready for it. Xavier Thigpen again making the stop, number 32.
Xavier came in there in tension and drove that shoulder back into the turf there.
Third down 7. You see the conversion story much better for Mississippi State than Southern Miss. Pressure. Prescott's pass too strong, too high, intended for Fred Brown. That was an important stop for Southern Miss defensively.
It was, and again, once again, Dak Prescott's ball not on the mark. That ball was hot and high. See, again, comes out of his hands. He does a nice job of directing his eyes upfield. He's got single coverage, which is what you want. You got to put it out there. Brown can grab that ball if he's got a chance to do it. It's high, and he's going to have to one-hand it. Dak Prescott has to do a better job of placing that ball on the outside shoulder.
Casey Martin is back deep. Logan Cook to boot it away. Beautifully done. Caught in midair at the 4-yard line, out of midair by Jamoral Graham, the defensive back that's been pressed into some duty tonight.
It's been a tale of two halves with respect to gadget plays. In the first half, boy, they worked. Onside kick recovered, aggressive special teams. And how about the extra play, the pass, the double pass, wide open, even the 50-50 ball. Guys making plays for Southern Miss. Second half, not so much. Coming up short here on the trickeration. Pressure, affecting it. Onside kick. Comes up short, executed well in terms of blocking, just wasn't able to convert. So once again, the tale of two halves, Tim.
Yeah, this is a long drive that Mullins faces, and they need something positive from a field position standpoint, if only that, in this series as they begin from the 5. Justice Hayes carries ahead to the 6-yard line. Deontay Evans, number 17, making the stop. Youngster from Macomb, Mississippi, not far from the Louisiana state line. They're going to give him 2, and it's second down and 8 yards to go. Boy, a few years ago, in 2013, they got on a winning streak to close out that season, won the Egg Bowl and a bowl victory, then carried it through for a 9-game win streak to open last year. And Dan Mullen is on a really stable ground in Starkville. Remarkable job he's done. Mullen steps up, gets the pass to Hayes. Justice Hayes, a first down.
Nice job of open field running by Justice Hayes. Navigated himself in the middle of the field. You know, usually when guys that are small like Hayes is, gets in the middle of the field, you're usually dealing with safeties who tend to be a little bit bigger, and maybe an occasional linebacker. You can make some extra yardage in the middle.
He stays in the game. Mullins out of the shotgun. Hayes again. Head for 2. J.T. Gray making the stop. We talked about how much larger this Mississippi State team is, maybe deeper too, but the physical part of this game, as you've said all along, Spencer, Southern Miss has been up to it.
They have been up to it, but Tim, just on that last play, you can hear that this Mississippi State team is laying some leather on them. I mean, they are really bringing the wood, but to their credit. They're dealing with it.
Wide open again. Out to the 43-yard line is D.J. Thompson. Boy, he's been big tonight.
D.J. Thompson getting open in zone coverage. I love the contrast of banging it in the middle of the field, getting everybody conscious of the attempt to get yardage inside, then come back with a little pop pass to the middle.
He's got 5 catches tonight for 49 yards.
He's done a fine job tonight.
Hayes again. Boy, you talk about that line of scrimmage game, and Mississippi State is in a line of scrimmage league. They made a big-time stop there. Richie Brown leading the charge. And there are the numbers on Mullins. 300 yards, the 2 picks, one of them especially hurt.
Tim, if he had a little bit more mobility and the option to run off of that play right there,
yeah,
he had a big play. A big-time play, but that's not what they asked him to do. There's a 4-wide concepts to the field.
On 2nd and 10. He gets it off just in time. He was buried as the pressure came off the edge. Jordan Mitchell, the intended receiver. And again, he was hammered by Ryan Brown, number 48, right as he released it.
Yeah, Mitchell did a nice arm over move to get to Mullins. Tremendous job of nailing the quarterback. Mismatch of defense. Price was out there, I think, trying to block him for a minute. He just went by him.
3rd down and 10. Now they've managed to get better field position, but they're running out of time in a 2-score game. Need to keep this drive alive somehow.
Pressure coming on the edge.
Mullins pass towards the sidelines, incomplete. D.J. Thompson was the intended receiver. That one was not accurate.
Daniquez Brown came off the edge here. You can see the isolation play made possible by the nice little out route there. This is about execution, Timmy. That ball looked like it had a string on the end of it. Thompson was in a position to catch that pass.
Matthew Mosley will boot it away for the first time, number 33 for Southern Mississippi. Fred Ross is back deep, awaiting at the 15-yard line. Ross, a fair catch at the 17-yard line. Dak Prescott, after an indifferent first half, has had a much better second. And he decided to use both his arm and his legs in this half. What a difference it can make. Well, tomorrow, don't miss a special Sunday edition of college football on Fox Sports 1. Purdue squares off against Marshall. Coverage begins 2:30 Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Ashton Shepard is the setback. Gus Wally remains the tight end. He's got a touchdown catch in this half for Dak Prescott on first down. Move the chains, get a few first downs, call it a night. Fred Brown on the receiving end of that pass from Prescott. 2nd down and a little more than 2 yards for the first down is needed. Well, they'll call it 1 now. It's a little less than 2. Prescott's pass is complete. And it's good for a first down to the 33-yard line, Fred Ross. Now you get a couple of more of these, Spencer, and it's lights out in Hattiesburg. Won't be much that Southern Miss can do if they can't get the ball back. Now they set up a wide receiver screen to Ross. When he gets to midfield, that's another first down.
They're
more
really
time off the clock.
Yeah, Dak is really putting pressure now on the back end here with these cross-field passes, making them run and chase on the defensive side of the ball. It's safe for him because he's not carrying it, therefore not exposed to injury.
Bulldog first down at the opening 49-yard line.
Quick curl to De'Runnya Wilson, incomplete. In some traffic that time. Kalen Reed, the corner, was right there with him, but he had some help. Tarek Wright was there too. Second down at 10. Well, he stepped into that one, didn't he? Durania Wilson's got it. First and goal, Mississippi State. You had to figure it was only a matter of time before these two hooked up for a big-time play. Trey Collins, number 2, with a saving tackle.
He's got such a huge catch radius, and he's so big of a target. He's got great speed on top of all of it, and Collins really not in a position to defend that pass. Great throw and catch.
There's Prescott by himself. Touchdown, Mississippi State. Hail State, hail Dak.
When you get down here, he doesn't need a fullback. He's his own fullback. That play set up by a big arm and a strike down the middle of the field had his Southern Miss defense on its heels. Dak finished him off.
Weston Graves will try for the extra point. Dak Prescott. Some might call him a late bloomer. A few schools looked at him more for maybe tight end. He wanted to be a quarterback, wanted to be a leader. Here's why. Durania Wilson and Dak going solo. No one does it better.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jay, and that man in front of me is Dan. Coming up on Fox Sports Live, a fantastic first Saturday of the college football season, including a Hail Mary win and lots of upsets.
Plus, cut-down day in the NFL, and baseball's playoff races continue to tighten. And nerds. Fox Sports Live.
Fox Sports 1 college football is presented by Geico. Now the work ethic of Dak Prescott never ending. On the headphones, talking to the eyes and ears for Dan Mullen. What a great staff he's put together with Billy Gonzalez. Came over from Florida recently and worked with wide receivers. And obviously had been with him, the offensive line and running backs coordinator. And Ito Smith will take the kick. More than lip service being paid to special teams late in the game. They get their top running back into the game, and he gets it just shy of the 40-yard line. Well, the Dr. Pepper, one-of-a-kind play of the game. Right here, Brandon Holloway.
How about the big return? Took advantage of a key block. Special teams is all about angles, and when you get a coverage team narrowing like a funnel to close that lane, that means somebody has left a void. Holloway put him in his hip pocket and made him pay for it.
That and this most recent drive for Prescott, 6 plays, 82 yards and 140 off the clock, has put this one on ice for Mississippi State. Justice Hayes is in the backfield. Casey Martin on the receiving end. Catches a lot of passes out of that slot position. J.T. Gray making the tackle. You know, I was talking to Skip Holtz, the head coach at Louisiana Tech. And, of course, Conference USA, he won the division a year ago, came off a losing season. When I told him I had this game, Spencer, he said, look out, Southern Miss began to get it along about late October last year. And Todd Monken even referenced it when we talked to him. He said, we could be this year's Louisiana Tech.
What a lot of people didn't recognize was the fact that he got so many of those junior college transfer guys that came in and gave them some instant depth and some maturity that they were lacking the year before. And that's what snuck up on a lot of people. Some of those guys have been injured and one disciplinary issue, but I think for the most part, this team is a lot more mature.
This is a guy that was on Mike Gundy's staff when they had Brandon Whedon, and such an outstanding passing game. Went on to the NFL for a short time before coming here.
It was at Jacksonville, and you know, we were making the comment just yesterday, when you're with another coach for a period of time, he started to even have mannerisms similar to Mike Gundy's way he went about his business.
The pass is caught. right at midfield by D.J. Thompson.
Mullins took a shot, but he hung in there, and Thompson paid it off with a nice grab. Nice pitch and catch by the quarterback and the receiver.
I loved his honesty, too, when he was talking to us, Spence. You know, this is a year you got to win. You know, he knows he needs W's this season.
Well, most programs, you know, and I think if you go back probably a long way, maybe 10, 15 years or so, Bob Stoops did it in 2 years, won a national championship. We're not talking about that here in that case, but some coaches squeeze that down to 3 years, and that's really the benchmark. If you can't get it going in 3 years, you know, it's going to be 3 and see you.
Yeah. Second down and 10. Just over 4 minutes to play. Hayes almost popped that. Delando Cleveland just undercut him.
Tell you what, when they finally do get it together, Tim, their ability with these smaller backs to run effectively, as effectively inside as they do, and their ability to stretch the field and paint it the way that they have, they're going to be a dangerous team again.
Third down and 3. Hayes remains the setback. Ball is loose. Mullins couldn't come up with it. I do believe he recovered it with a loss of yardage. He did.
Just a bad read there.
Yep.
Oftentimes the back is meshing at the point, and he's not reading the same thing. The quarterback is in that no man's land, a moment of indecision, and that's what you get, turnovers.
Fred Ross will punt it away. Or, excuse me, will be in receiving formation back at the 10-yard line. Matthew Mosley will punt it away. And a fair catch is called for at the 13. Bulldogs will have it. 2:45 remaining. And as Dak makes his way out, we've come to really the conclusion of the first full weekend, although we've got the great Sunday matchup tomorrow between Purdue and Marshall here on FS1. Your opening week thoughts about the landscape of college football?
Well, considering our game kind of as a starting off point, you have a team that is trying to reclaim past glory, playing tough and tight for a half and staying in there, much like SMU did with Baylor. I mean, playing within 8 points at the half. That was outstanding. TCU and Minnesota, another tough, tight one. A team that was involved in a roundabout way and who ultimately played in the playoff field last year. So to me, Timmy, I think it's a typical opening week. Teams playing it close, dangerous scenarios that you want to watch and be careful for in an opening week.
Yeah, and I'd also say, as you see Shepard setting sail, he's got a first down out to the 32-yard line. The narrative will not be complete until we get past Labor Day night, when the defending national champion, that's right, plays in Lane Stadium against the only team that beat them a year ago.
And that's going to be a very dangerous game because of where it's being played this time, and you still got some quarterback issues. And
right.
But I will say this, Urban Meyer has a master's degree in psychology for a reason.
Marker down late as Malik Deer takes that one out to the 35-yard line.
You know, finishing the thought on Urban Meyer, I don't believe there's another coach. I actually think he's eclipsed Nick Saban in terms of his ability.
Holding number 58 on the offense. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
To get the most out of teams, and he's just brilliant. Anybody that can leverage the unfortunate death of a player and position changes, have one Heisman Trophy quarterback that you lose and that's replaced by another one that eventually became a Heisman Trophy candidate, and then your third guy comes in and takes you the rest of the distance. That's pretty good coaching, Timmy.
I think the year off may have helped him. You know, sometimes taking a sabbatical will make you fresh. Nick Fitzgerald is coming to the game now as Dak Prescott's evening is closed. He and Elijah Staley and Damian Williams are backing up the Heisman candidate. Shumpert remains in the game. And it's going to be Fitzgerald that carries it. And he's got a first down out to the 43-yard line. go back to your point about, you know, the balance of power and how it shifted. So much talk about the SEC West and the Pac-12 South coming in. You know, in the end, I think after 1 week, all of us are sometimes way too guilty of making mass decisions on a small body of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of football to be played. Harris Williams will take it. Redshirt freshman from West Point, Mississippi.
Yeah, but Timmy, I will say this. You know, every engagement leaves bibliography and footnotes. What Urban Meyer did with his team last year, and with most of that team coming back intact,
yeah,
it's not like you're pulling it out of the air. I mean, there's a lot that's there.
And that schedule is just so inviting if they can get past Virginia Tech. By the way, speaking of Urban, that man worked for him and did a marvelous job. Some say, really, Florida got a lot more difficult for him once Dan Mullen vacated the premises for Mississippi State. Dontavian Lee is in the backfield now. We anticipated seeing him tonight. And he gets it into Southern Mississippi territory. Well, you talk about decided advantages. They'll have it now going against LSU next week because the Tigers did not get to play. Now, last year, as I recall, Idaho and Florida were called off because of inclement weather, which cost the Gators early in the season when they really needed to get a game in. You know, Brandon Harris needs reps. And LSU has got to go into Starkville and play that game next week.
And it's not like LSU had a major solution at the quarterback position to go in the first place.
Fitzgerald will carry it and will get down inside the 35-yard line on what should be the final play. Well, they've got the first down, so they'll have to mark it, stop the clock, and then it'll be ball game, and they're going to say it's over right now. Munkin and Mullen will meet at midfield and call it a night. I said this before. It really speaks volumes that Mississippi State went on the road to play this game against Southern Mississippi. The Golden Eagles have a bright future. Mississippi State's immediate future, LSU next week. Partner, good to be back with you.
All right, Timmy B.
For our entire crew, Tim Brando saying so long from Hattiesburg at the top of the rock. Don't go anywhere, because right now we're going to take you to Fox Sports Live.